Hello there, and thank you for joining us from wherever you are. We are live from our studios in Kokomlemle on digital address GA0992539. Our top stories this hour. Allegations of busing leading to scuffles at some registration centers as the Ghana Medical Association vows to hold EC accountable for any surge in coronavirus cases, and the Electoral Commission appeals for public cooperation on COVID-19 protocol compliance at the registration centers. We'll talk to them live this afternoon. Also, indecent exposure and nudity, among others, are the charges leveled against actress Rosamond Brown, known in public as Ekua Pimpolo. We have more as police say they are pursuing psychological support for her 7-year-old son. We'll also be hearing from child rights advocates. Also coming up, police pursue leads. They are picking up less than 24 hours after a church worker is robbed, shot and killed. We're live in Kumasi where the shooting happened. Those are top stories this hour. We're live on your digital television for free. We're also on DSTV 421, Go TV 144. We stream live on YouTube. You can send us your thoughts on 0540-109-009. My name is Gifty Andopia. This is The Pulse. Please be my guest. You're welcome to the show. I'll take you to the details of those top stories and more. Police in Kumasi say they're picking up possible leads to help them bring to book armed men on motorbike who robbed, shot and killed a caretaker of the Bantama Seventh-day Adventist Church in broad daylight. Mark Amofa was returning from the bank in the afternoon when the assailant on 2 unregistered motorbikes attacked him. They took away 4,300 cedis at the church entrance before shooting him dead. Ohime Interior of our security desk has been speaking to the police in the Ashanti region, and Ohime is standing by with the information he has put together. But take a look at this report that Ohime filed last night.
Even the presence of students of nearby Adventist Senior High School and a security man on campus could scare the robbers. Shout for help by the father of 3 is believed to have angered the robbers, who shot him at close range. Motorists refused to convey wounded Mr. Amofa to nearby Konfanochi Hospital amid profuse bleeding. When eventually he was taken to the hospital, doctors pronounced him dead a few minutes on arrival. An eyewitness who spoke on condition of anonymity tells JoyNews the robbers trailed the deceased from Abepo Junction branch of EcoBank, where he had withdrawn the money.
Awia donko sabene school for na pon a ombe kofie enti yo ha na yeti se bibia gi pow di yina adwene se bia ka bi na ne koba apae e be pie no na se enipo da sani na oda ye hwe na obi a yeni no a yeni ya na wo adwuma a oye bantuma asora sabba na fe oda mojam no akọ bank aye akọ bank wo Abepo Junction and me Thomas Fenimono, Aquajiska Kra, our de Babe Asorejuma, and as I confirm for so a woman or the moto, a Hulomiano, a beyond so a job to be no manibiaho, into a becanushe, Pilaya, Egina, or Mijan Wacaseo, a honor or Mijiscano, or Miss Calviano, Anna or James of Cronfo, Anna dear, or Gina or Nimoto and Bano, as well as Bontume ko no tutuo e bo no enti obobuhwe hase no e moje tu no ye jeta zibia obi ambese obefa na moje renti na fe asor ka no e fa no ne ko kofo no chi ne e bon pasia mebu abia ko benya hoden so awia no a be donko ne fa no e think I say when media.
Officers from Swami Divisional Command have visited the scene twice as part of investigations. JoyNews sources say statements will be taken from key eyewitnesses while search begins in earnest for the culprits. From Kumasi, Ohimi Tiwia reporting.
That's the report Ohime filed for us from the region last night. Ohime joins me right now live from Kumasi. He's been speaking to police officers working this story. Ohime, what more do we know?
Thank you, Gifty. The Ashanti Regional Police Command says it is not resting on its oars as far as this case is concerned. The command has promised to do everything possible within its might to track the perpetrators who committed the act in broad daylight, killing the man. Police say this was without any provocation. This is not an instance where somebody resisted a robbery attempt, but the robbers have succeeded in robbing the man of 4,370 Ghana cedis. This money, we are told, was meant to pay workers of the church. Some of them are teachers who have been working and teaching at the church preparatory school in Oshim. And because of the introduction of lockdown and then some security measures for COVID-19, the teachers have not been in school. But the church took a decision to pay them even whilst at home. So Mr. Amofa was given the check to cash the money from nearby Abrepo Junction, which under normal circumstances would take less than 3 minutes to drive from the bank to the church. But immediately he got to the entrance of the church, he was gunned down by the assailants who had succeeded in robbing him of the money. But police say they have picked important and positive leads, though the Deputy Regional Police Commander, DCOP David Ajimajem, will not give details of how positive and details of the leads that they have picked. He says, yes, police are convinced that these leads will help them to arrest the perpetrators and bring them to book as far as this heinous crime is concerned, Gifty.
And these talks about positive leads. You indicated that they're not giving you a lot more details on it, but do they know anything at all that they can share at this point that gives at least the family some assurance that something is being done?
Yes, DCOP David Ajem says the assurance comes from the fact that immediately after the crime was committed yesterday, police team visited the scene twice from the Swami Divisional Police Command and also the crime scene management team from the Regional Police CID. So these are indications that the police are not resting on the matter. And secondly, he says, immediately after the incident, police reactivated its intelligence gathering mechanisms. And these mechanisms are what supports police in gathering vital information, especially on criminals believed to be involved in criminal activities like what happened at Bantama. So he wouldn't want to jump the gun, but to say that, yes, tomorrow police will meet the press and then brief the media on where they've taken investigations to as far as the arrest and then tracking the suspects are concerned. But he says they have done everything possible and they will continue to do it. And even then, he's appealing to residents, especially the general public, to also support police with information. He wouldn't want to give so much detail, but I learned that the police have taken statements already from eyewitnesses. And these eyewitness statements are key in the investigations. The statements are key because they've been able to help them identify who these suspects are. And in another breath, I learned police, even after the incident, knew who could be involved because for some time now, they have been tracking a gang of robbers who have been operating in a similar fashion in the city. So yes, police have an idea, and based on information that they say they have picked, the leads are positive, and they are sure it will help them in apprehending the suspects who were involved in yesterday's shooting and killing of Mr. Mark Amofa, who we are told for some time now has moved from his private residence to live with the family at the Bantama SDA Church premises.
Okay, let's talk a bit more about this person who has been shot and killed. What do we know about him?
The leadership of the Bantama SDA Church say they wouldn't want to give more information at this point in time, knowing very well that police is handling the matter. They don't want to lead police in investigations. But what I do know is that this is a man who has committed his life to the Bantama SDA Church. It dates back as far back as 12 years. He has contributed to the church, served the church in several capacities. And when the time came for somebody to volunteer to support the church, for instance, somebody who can be available and readily relied on to support the church in caretaker capacity, he was available to provide this service to the church. So even when the COVID-19 emerged in Ghana and there were restrictions on movement, he's somebody who was living in Kumasi Abuakwa with his family, a family of 4, his wife and 3 other children. Then he decided to move to the church premises so that his movement, restriction of movement will not affect his services that will render to the church. So he came to the church premises, lived there with the family, I must say for about 3 months now that they have been living at the church premises. So yesterday's incident was a routine thing for him. He go to the bank, as part of his activities. We just go to the bank, on the orders of the church's treasurer. We go to the bank and cash checks in his possession and return to the treasurer the money that he has cashed. But it was unfortunate that yesterday probably was the last day he will be doing this. When he told the treasurer that he was going to the bank, he succeeded, went to the bank, cashed the money, 4,370 Ghana cedis, and we are told it was at the bank that the robbers trailed him. So on 2 motorbikes, 2 each on the motorbike, the robbers accosted him whilst entering the gates of the church, and one of them beckoned on him to hand over an envelope in the polythene bag to him, something he couldn't resist it, and he did. But immediately as the robbers attempted to leave the scene, then he shouted, "Armed robbers, armed robbers," and that is what angered the robbers to open fire on him, after one of them on a motorbike instructed a gentleman who collected the money from Mr. Amufa to shoot him, and he did that in the process, killing him instantly. We are told he bled profusely at the scene. So before help could reach him and the money to get him into the church's bus, it was too late again for Mr. Amufa to have survived the attack.
Ohemin, thank you very much for that detailed report there. Ohemin Teria of our security desk joined us from Kumasi, where that gruesome incident happened. Police say they are working to be able to speak to the media tomorrow on this matter and to tell us or brief the public on what they have found so far. But that's the story about, looks like 4 people on a motorbike after 4,000 cedis killing a church worker in the process. We'll do more on our election headquarters, but just a message coming in says from Francis, aka Enemies Are Not God. He's testing from Hohoi. Says, good afternoon. I'm watching live from Hohoi. Happy new month, and only God can should have mercy on us about these robbers in our country. May his soul rest in peace. And Francis, may his soul rest in peace indeed. Thank you. This is your election headquarters. The Electoral Commission is reminding the public of the need to comply with the COVID-19 protocols, as it is becoming increasingly clear many people who turned up on day 1 of the registration process did not comply. We'll be talking to the Commission shortly, but a statement released this afternoon asked for the cooperation of the public. And I read for you excerpts of that particular statement. It says that the Electoral Commission wishes to inform the general public that eligible applicants are encouraged to strictly adhere to the social distancing protocols in the ongoing registration exercise. Additionally, other COVID-19 safety protocols, such as the wearing of nose masks and washing hands under running water, apply at all our 33,367 registration centers across the country and our district offices. The statement goes on to say also that the general public should note that the presence of the security personnel at the registration centers is to enforce the protocols and also to ensure orderliness. The Electoral Commission would appreciate the cooperation of the general public for the successful registration exercise. The Commission is grateful, it says, to Ghanaians for the enthusiasm shown so far towards the registration exercise. And it ends by saying 2020 voters registration exercise, your safety is our concern, signed off by the Electoral Commission. And we're hopeful to get to speak to the Electoral Commission this afternoon here on the show. But the Commission talks about Ghanaians' enthusiasm. So let's take you across the registration centers to find out. Well, what we find out is adherence to the COVID-19 protocols continue to remain a challenge at most of the registration centers, at least those that we have visited here, starting from here in the Greater Accra region. At the Blessed Assurance Registration Center in the Ablikuma South constituency, social distancing is a big problem because residents there huddle together in queues, with some of them without face masks. But that is not the only place that Maxwell Agbawa, my colleague, has visited. He was also in 2 other constituencies and has details of that in his report.
Disappointingly, here at the Blessed Assurance Registration Center, social distancing is not really happening. Well, many of the people here have started wearing their masks after they've seen our cameras. But what we observed when we came here was that some of them had it in their pocket, some of them were wearing it under their chins. In fact, many of them were not wearing their masks. Social distancing, it's a big problem here. Now I'm hearing, some of the officials here telling them to space out. But you can clearly see that social distancing is not really working here. I have a concerned resident. You are a resident?
Yes.
And before we pulled out our cameras, you saw the situation here.
Yes.
Can you tell us what the situation was like before we pulled out the cameras?
The situation is not all that good. Social distancing, social distancing poor. Nose masks, no. Washing of hands, I am not seeing it. But what I'm seeing really, what I'm seeing really is the thermometer gun. The thermometer gun is being applied.
Okay.
But for the social distancing, you can even see from the cameras that it is not the best. And some of them are not even having their nose masks, and they are even shouting.
Yeah. Okay. Are you a resident here?
Yes, I'm a resident here.
Okay, so tell me.
Even we advise most of them to wear it because the thing is very dangerous. The sickness is very dangerous. But to my opinion, I have only one problem to say. This kind of queue is unnecessary. To me, it's very unnecessary because why the government didn't want to use the old one? Why the government didn't want to use the old voters ID card to vote?
Very densely populated area, so obviously you're going to have these challenges.
Okay.
It is normal.
Are you part of the EC?
Sorry?
Are you part of the EC?
I am an official for a political party. Okay, right? When people in Choco respected social distancing before, no. It's a problem that they always, you see? It's a problem we have here. They won't respect it. This is Choco for you.
Okay, we are here at the City Engineers Registration Center 1 and 2. And as you can see, some persons have gathered here outside the presence of the registration center. So, this lady standing here is one of the people deployed here, one of the health persons deployed here to this particular registration center. Hi, what's your name?
Dr. Nadesu. I'm here to check the temperature and to record any case which is beyond me.
Okay.
So I quickly check their temperature before they go wash their hands. Then they proceed to the next level. Above 38, from 38 going, then I put the person aside, fill the form, and then refer the person to our clinic, Osha Polyclinic.
I've been speaking to the Jamestown District Crime Officer, ASP Williams Kalami. He says they are enforcing strict wearing of the face mask here. Persons who show up at this registration center without a face mask are asked to go home, get one before they return.
So far today is very calm as compared to yesterday. Because initially yesterday there was a problem which was resolved leading to late start of the program. So people were agitating. But today everything is smooth. I think with the programs we put in place, everything is very smooth. The role of the police is very simple, to maintain law and order so that the exercise moves on smoothly.
Okay. Are you also checking whether people are complying with the social distancing protocol and the wearing of face masks? Are you also doing that here?
Yes, of course. You know, we are faced with a pandemic. And we must make sure we are all safe. So we see to it that people come with face masks. The social distances should also be observed. So we are ensuring that it is observed.
What about those who come without face masks? What happens to them?
Yeah, personally, I have even spotted some people who were not wearing face masks, and I advised them and sacked them, and they went back and came back in there.
Okay. So if you come here without face masks, you'll be sacked and asked to go and get one?
Yes, sure.
We'll be heading to the Ashanti region where there are major issues coming up there as well. We'll also be going across the regions. Let's start with Bono East. As of 12:30 today, 65 persons had been registered at the Apostles Continuation Church polling station in the Techiman South constituency of that region. We're told that all COVID-19 safety protocols were strictly being adhered to, including social distancing. Anas Sabit is joining me to give us more on that. Hello, Anas. Hi, Anas. We'll be getting Anas to give us more of what he found on his rounds today. Rafiq Salam is joining me also from the Upper West region. We'll have Inathalia Kwansa joining us. Rafiq, in your area, there has been some heavy rains, but people, you know, defied the rains and went on ahead with the registration. Tell us more.
The people are really enthusiastic about what they want to have. Then they fight the rains. There was an early downpour here that stayed for about an hour. And some of the registration officials and also the prospective restaurants, some of them have to relocate. A case in point at the High Court, the registration officials and also the prospective registrants has to relocate to the one outside court. That was where the exercise took place, but it was on hold there. And then also at the Ahmadiyya Mosque, while the mine, it was also the same. They have to relocate and then move inside the mosque, keep it on hold, and then after that, the process began again. And so in the Upper West region here, they defied the rain, but and then went on to acquire their cars. So the registration exercise here is orderly and peaceful here. People are having the face mask. Majority of the people that I saw these registration centers are having this nose mask, and then they're having the Veronica buckets. The temperature, the thermometer gun was also at their disposal. So they are nurses all over who are checking to share some of them worried about, which is a major worry to many, is the crowding at these tourists.
But Rafiq, I'm losing you intermittently, but I'm hearing that what you're saying is that people defy the rains. Yes, they went ahead, but there's a major problem there as well, which has to do once again with crowding in the areas of the registration. Rafiq, if you can hear me again, in Accra, the reports that we've done indicates that people are going to be, or the electoral officers are looking at a point where people will be turned away for not observing the protocols. Did you get to engage with any of the electoral officers, and what did they say? Well, Rafiq seems to be having a hard time hearing me, but those are pictures videos that Rafiq sent us from the Upper West region. So those are coming from the Upper West region. What happened when the rains began? Obviously, the people were relocating, and they did relocate to continue with the registration, not to relocate and to stop. Let's get to the northeast, the Bono East region. Anas Sabit is standing by. Anas.
I tried to speak to them. They wouldn't speak, and the policemen, also the registration officers, so it's difficult to control them. Okay, Rafiq, it's you again. So you were saying that you tried to engage the electoral officers, but they wouldn't talk to you. How disturbing is the issue? Yes, Rafiq, I hear you. How disturbing is the issue about not wearing of face masks and crowding at the registration centers? I will tell you the issue of nose mask. When you go to the registration centers, I can tell you that over 99% of the people are wearing the face mask and also some wearing face shield. But the major headache, the major problem they are having is about this social distancing. And you know, the places are crowded, and so the electoral officers will tell you that it's not easy to control these crowds at the places. So they have not much difficulty about what having this nose mask, but difficulty they have is that it's to get into this social distance.
Interesting. Rafiq, we'll say a very big thanks to you there for that report. Rafiq Salam joined us from WA with a report. Everything is going on smoothly, except that people are now beginning to crowd around the sanitizers, and that's also creating a problem for the electoral officers there. Anas Sabit, like I said, counted the number of people who had registered in the Bono East region, in one of the constituencies in the Bono East region, that is the Techiman South constituency in the Bono region. And as of 12:30 today, 65 people have registered. So how many people were they expecting, out of which only 65 had registered? As we're looking to get this done, I'm hoping that Anas Sabit will be able to give us more on that particular one. Hi, Anas, can you hear me? Okay, we're having. Okay, Anas, is that you? I hear some sound there. Is that you? Tell us, how many people were expected, if you know, how many people were expected at this particular constituency where 65 people had registered as of 12:30 today?
That particular polling station, they were expecting over 100. Yesterday they did 105. Okay. And today they are expecting some 100 and over 100 because of what happened yesterday. And so as at 12:30 midday, they have registered 65. And so looking from the number of persons we spotted on the ground, there's a likelihood that they will be able to register more than 100 as expected. But what is interesting about what I observed on that particular registration center is that everything is in order. It is a particular church ground, that's the Apostolic Continuation Church police station, and all the registrants were seated in a spacious manner, with all of them having their face masks on. And there is a Veronica bucket placed at the entrance of the church. You will be instructed to wash your hands before getting inside. In fact, when we got there, two gentlemen approached us and asked our mission there before they even allowed us entry into the ground. So that is what they are doing to ensure that people who get in there do observe all the protocols before they're even allowed access to the registration center. So it is so far the best in terms of the observation of the protocols so far as this registration exercise is concerned, the areas I have visited since yesterday.
Anas, thank you. Anas Sabit's there with a report from Bono East, specifically that constituency. Let me take you to the Volta region, where Ivy Setoji has been monitoring the registration process today. Hi, Ivy. Ivy, what did you find today?
Good afternoon. Hello, Gifty.
Hi, Ivy. Tell us what you found today.
Hello, Gifty. So the issue of social distancing is still a problem, even at home, where I visited today, some of the centers. This morning, some residents who went to register were fighting as to who registered first or not, just like yesterday in Ketu South. And so the officials had to come in to write in numbers for them to use for the registration. So there were a little bit of chaos in that center. So the issue of social distancing is still a problem. In Nangrogatu, we were told that some of them, we don't even have Veronica buckets so that people can wash their hands, not even the gun thermometer. So these issues, residents are saying, need to be resolved. The residents are still not adhering to the protocols. Okay. Also, they are not wearing the face mask. So we just hope that as time progresses, these things are corrected.
Thank you very much for that report. Ivy Setoji, the Volta Regional Correspondent. I tell you what, we have the Member of Parliament for Asawase who is on Zoom with us. And I told you that one of the areas that we've looked at regarding the registration process and how it's going is the Ashanti region, where we've had major issues. Well, as Sokwari Mampong, Chief Municipal Executive Ali Duseidu has said that he will hold Asawase MP Muntaka Mubarak responsible for any disruption of the voter registration exercise in the area. And that follows a warning by the MP of fierce resistance to an alleged grand scheme by the governing NPP, as they say, to bus non-residents into Asawase to register. We have both of them on the show today as we try to understand these grievances and hopefully get some responses from the electoral officers. But Nana Asensu Mensah filed this report yesterday. It gives us a background for the conversation we'll have with Muntaka Mubarak, Member of Parliament for Asawase. Take a look.
Asawase constituency parliamentary seat remains the only one the governing MPP has never annexed in its stronghold Ashanti region since its creation in 2004. Constituencies like New Dibiase, Ejura Sechedumase, Ahafwano North and Sechira Plains, considered NDC backyard, have changed hands between the two political parties. Currently holding 44 out of the 47 constituencies of the region, the NPP has declared what it terms 47-47, which means it is determined to snatch all 3 seats occupied by the NDC in the region. No wonder allegations of manipulation have started flying. Incumbent MP Muntaka Mubarak claims people are being barred from outside to register in Asawase.
Clearly, you see that they are doing this to enhance cross-boundary activity. For us, we have a simple message. This is our territory. We will do everything to protect it.
He also accuses the EC of creating what he describes as ambiguous registration centers on the periphery of the constituency to aid the MPP agenda.
We believe that they should stick to the CI and allow the police station that have been created. If they want to create more police stations, the law allows them to create more police stations. But to create this ambiguous station that anybody from all the centers will be able to go there, how are you going to even challenge? Because you say
MPP parliamentary aspirant for Asawase, who is also MC for Sokwari Mampong, is counter-accusing the minority chief whip of attempt to disrupt the registration exercise.
You don't pull nerves. You don't say things, warmongering, expressing your own anger with such a sabotage, saying that whoever is coming from his house to come and register, to bid farewell to his family before he gets here. It means that we will hold you responsible in case of any hurt. If anybody gets hurt, we shall hold him responsible. Because at the end of the day, we want to have free, fair, and trouble-free registration and election.
Meanwhile, confusion nearly broke out over one of the newly created polling stations in the constituency. Alhaji Muntaka expressed outrage over the sighting of the Adom Drinking Sports Registration Center, which he claimed is near the residence of the constituency chairman of the ruling NPP.
Anyway, and this one, you can see is very clear. You can't place a police station in somebody's residence. That's a private property. Look, there's a school here. Let's locate the police station. It's a new police station. By law, you are supposed to notify the political party 21 days before the start of the station. That has not been done. Only this morning for us to see that a station has been placed here. That is very unfortunate.
Ali Duseidu, in reaction, maintains all the over 150 polling stations within the constituencies must be relocated if the Member of Parliament insists on his claims.
This is a police station. It is in front of somebody's house. And all of these police stations have been created long ago. We have 186 police stations. If you say there is a particular police station sited at a place purporting to be in front of someone who is a sympathizer to an MPP, then you go to all the police stations and get them relocated. Because Wawulo police station is in front of somebody's house.
Meanwhile, social distancing has become a challenge at most registration centers. Children under 5 are exposed to danger as they queue up for their mothers for registration. Member of the Kumasi Metropolitan COVID team, Dr. Enes Kwakon, admonished parents to refrain from putting children at such risk.
And what is even worse is that these children don't have any form of protection, and they were bunched together, no physical distance. So when I got here, diplomatically, I spoke to the electoral officer, and the electoral officer dispelled them. And their places have been taken, miraculously been taken by their own parents, who are rather in mask and protected, and those children were left. I think this is something that should not be condoned.
Nana Asensumensa reporting.
That's Nana Sensu-Mensah's report. And like I said, I have the Honorable Member of Parliament for the area, as I want to say, Muntaka Mubarak, who's also the Minority Chief Whip, on Zoom with us. Sir, thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you, and good evening to you and your listeners. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We're also able to have the MC Ali Duseidu on Zoom with us. But Honourable Member of Parliament, let me ask with you. You alleged that there is a grant scheme. There's a busing scheme to essentially allow people who don't come from your area to come and register there. What evidence are you backing these allegations with? Hello, Mr. Muntaka, can you hear me? If you can, it will be good to put down the sound on your TV set so that we can see you and you can hear me from your phone. Okay. Mr. Muntaka, can you hear me? Is it better now? Okay, let's try and raise him back on the line. But I'll read some of your messages that you've been sending, especially on social distancing protocols and how it's been observed at the registration centers as we try to work out Muntaka Mubarak's Zoom, as well as Ali Duseidu as well. Okay, looks like I have the Member of Parliament back. Mr. Muntaka, thank you once again. I was asking earlier, your allegation that there is a grant scheme to bus people into your area to get them registered, even though they don't come from there. What evidence are you backing that allegation with?
Well, let me thank you once again. I mean, the interview that you just played back, you heard the MC himself saying, I mean, I heard it at your 12 o'clock noon, where he's saying that so long as they are Ghanaians, anywhere they are coming from, he doesn't see anything why anybody can stop them. It confirms what we were saying. If you like, just play the 12 o'clock, the interview that you had with him, play it to the end. You will hear him say that so long as they are Ghanaian, they can be coming from anywhere. It doesn't matter. It matters. That's why he should know there's a law that provides who can register at each polling station. You need to be somebody that is permanent resident or you hail from that place. At least if you are also somebody who has just moved into that area, at least in the last 4 years, you have stayed in the total for about 1 year before you can be a registered voter there. So it's not that anybody anywhere, once the person is a Ghanaian, so me, I'm a Ghanaian, so I just get up and go to Bantamine and say I'm going to register. That's not the case. And that's exactly what they think they can do. But we keep saying it. We are assuring them we are going to police every single registration center. That is not going to happen.
You are going to police every single registration center. You don't just leave it at that. Yesterday, in the story again that my colleague filed, you indicated that people who are coming to the neighborhood who don't come from there should bid farewell to their family before they get there. That presupposes that those people are going to somehow get killed.
Well, you are saying that. I didn't say somebody is going to be killed.
No, and that's why I'm talking to you. I'm inferring from the statement you make, and that's why again I'm talking to you for clarity.
I'm saying that you have no business coming into that constituency in the first instance. You have no business. Just stay in your community and register, and let us all have peace. If you choose to transport yourself or allow yourself to be transported into another territory, and you go and anything happens to you, you have yourself to blame. So I'm encouraging everybody to stay where he or she hails or stay and then register. Don't try to transport yourself into a territory where you yourself know you don't qualify to register there, or allow someone to transport you into those territories. Let's allow our democracy to work. Let's allow persons that are supposed to decide who becomes their MP, who becomes their president, does that, and not to simply just sit and play unconcerned, and then others get burst into a territory. I don't think that will not be even just to ourselves if we do that.
Which is a fair argument, really fair. If you have no business registering at a particular place, you absolutely have no business being there. But for the statement you make coming from a member of parliament, if any of your colleagues had made this, wouldn't you think it was, would you think that would have been okay? Because there are people who follow you, people who listen to you and act accordingly. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm telling you, that you have no business being there. So just stay in your community, period. But if you choose to ignore all the rules that we have in our country, the laws of our country, and decide to cross into a territory where you are not supposed to be there, you will have yourself to blame. So simply stay where you are, and that's it. And then let's all have a peaceful process that will end up get the right persons being in the register at the right place, so that you do not do cross-boundary activity that will mar the whole process and defeat the essence of our democracy.
If you had the chance to withdraw that statement about people saying, I'm just asking, if you just allow me to ask, I'll certainly ask my other questions, but I just want us to exhaust this one, that if you had the chance to withdraw that, will you?
Let's talk about it.
Say that again, I lost you.
Let's talk about other things if you do have some other questions for us to talk about.
I certainly do have other questions. So
I've answered this question. So
okay, no, I asked whether you withdraw. So obviously you won't withdraw. My next question is, you talk about ambiguous stations that have been set up. You are a member of parliament of this area. You say you did not have any communication to that effect. Did you engage the Electoral Commission when you realized this?
We did. If you ask the regional manager, he'll tell you, I did. And right in front of the district manager, I told him this. And his excuses are, oh, probably at the national level, the chair of EC might have communicated to our party, even though he agrees that at the district level, too, same should have happened. You see, when people decide to act in a way that doesn't show good faith, that clearly shows that, some invisible hands are behind and manipulating the process. These are the things that you get, because the rules are very clear. If you play to the rules, I don't think anybody is going to have any problem. But when you decide that you are going to ignore the rules and do it as you please, that is why you are going to get people resisting in the same manner. Let's play to the rules. And if you all play to the rules, I'm sure that you will not be hearing anything about Aswanti or any other place for that matter, that there's this challenge or that challenge. But when you decide that you will not play to the rules, and you think that because you are in power, you are going to use the state machinery to intimidate innocent agency heads and other institutions that work in the country, These are the kind of things you create chaos, you create confusion, and you have all these challenges that we have. Because look, check the CI. Why is the Electoral Commission getting the power to say that in every district office, we are going to create a polling station for the aged, the physically challenged, the lactating mother, the pregnant woman? That will come, for example, in Aswansi, from 186 polling registration centers. How do you do that? So how can people, because if you bring anybody from any community, how will you be able to tell this other person from who is claiming to come from this community truly is coming from that community? You are creating an ambiguous station that is going to create chaos. And I think that they should stick to the rules. They have the power to create registration centers and, for that matter, police stations. That, I believe, suffices.
Okay.
If you have a police station, the law itself states that when pregnant women, aged and physically challenged, the lactating mothers get to the station, they should be given priority. And I believe if you go around Accra where you are, you will see that's what's exactly happening. In Aswansi, that's actually what's happening. Almost all the 19 polling stations that is currently operating, that when you go into any of them, you get priority, and you are given priority to register and go. So why do you then try to say that you are going to create one in the district office, if not to create confusion?
And with all of these, what are the, I don't know, help me, what are the processes you can exhaust to deal with all these concerns that you have, first as a member of parliament in this area?
First, I mean, what I did was to go to the regional EC manager. I launched a complaint. Then he called the district managers who came, and I mean, yeah, I laid my complaint before her, and he said, okay, she should go back and listen to us and see what can be done. When we came, I don't know after I left what they discussed. When we came and they called other stakeholders, she said we should go and put our petition to right, and we've since done that. So it is our hope that they are going to take actions expeditiously on this our request.
Well, what's your assessment of the process so far? And I must indicate that the MC for Asokoi, Mampo Ali Duseidu, who was supposed to join in this conversation. So Ms. Ali Duseidu, I understand that you're trying to join in the Zoom. Do check your phone, because we're also trying to reach you so that we can find out how there are all these ambiguous stations, as the MP calls it, and one at the Adum drinking spot, one specifically, which is right in front of a constituency chairperson's house. I mean, hopefully we can get some understanding.
It's not in front. If you ask your cameraman, it's in the compound. It's not in front. If it were in front, I mean, who has problem with that? Because the person has his fence wall, and you have the police stations. If the road reservation is enough, this is in the compound. And I hope that your reporters will capture the pictures, or probably the video, and show it to the whole world.
We did have the video, and I have just seen it in the report. I'm not quite sure, of course, because I don't know the area and because I don't know this house. I don't know how it is situated, but we did see the video. And like I'm saying, that's why we're hoping that he'll be able to join. My producers tell me that he's trying to join, but it looks like the network isn't helping. But I want you to assess for me the registration so far in Asawase specifically, and then at large, nationwide.
Well, I mean, let me admit, all my attention has been in Asawase, even though I've heard some of my colleagues say one thing or the other. I'm not there, so I will not want to speak to things that I'm not privy to. What I'm privy to is that yesterday, yes, we had these skirmishes. Today, largely is doing well, except to say that, look, there's this attempt to intimidate. And I keep saying that, look, let's stick to the rules. Because you have these well-built young men in a Tundra pickup claiming to be police officers. And I know that yesterday we were in one of the stations with the #2 in the whole region, the second in command. He had his uniform on, and you can identify his name. Because of the marks, it is difficult sometimes when all of us use the marks. Sometimes it's difficult to identify who is this. These young men are not in uniform. I mean, let me say, yesterday, the number of policemen that were in my constituency, if I would not exaggerate, I would say they were well over 100. many of them were in uniform, except this particular group that are in the tundra, and they are holding, I mean, all manner of guns, and yet they are not in uniform. And you see, I believe that we are not learning from the Ayawaso by-election and what happened. Because if we were learning from the Ayawaso by-election, we would not allow a single police officer on operation not to be in uniform. You be in uniform so that when you misbehave, you will be identified. But these are young guys who are just going around. They are not in uniform.
Have you engaged them to find out where they are from?
Yeah, they say they are, I mean, someone said they are anti-robbery squad. If they were on duty, they need to have their uniform on.
But you are a member of parliament. You have every right to ask them. You didn't?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Most of the time where I'm standing, they just come and pass. They just come and you see them run past my vehicle. I've not had the opportunity where in a station where I am and then they come and they stop. They always come and pass. And I've asked a number of the senior police officers, why are they not in uniform? Because that's not right. Aside that, I would say that largely the process today has been very smooth and it's going on, except periodically you have the machine freezing, and I'm sure that is something that the EC is dealing with. One other thing that I think is very, very important to say, when the chair of the Electoral Commission was addressing the press, she said they were going to come there with their own tables and chairs and furniture and what have you. You won't believe it. I have gone through all the stations in my constituency this afternoon, right from morning till now. I've gone through all the 19. Yesterday, they were using groundnut sellers table, other tables where they are closer to a school. They are using the teachers' table and what have you. And because of that, there are not enough furniture around, and therefore, observing social distance in Aswanzi is almost close to impossible. With the exception of some few areas like Tawhid, where it's a school, so because of the school, they were able to bring a lot of furniture out, and therefore were able to observe the social distance. But generally, you will see that the social distance is not being observed.
It's not
Lastly,
being observed.
Yesterday when we closed,
if you can make that brief for me, as I've run out of time.
They said that they didn't have the sheet. They didn't have the sheet to print the return. We had to go and buy our paper, A4 sheet, to give it to them to print the sheet. I think the EC, yes, I know it just started. There may be some of this teaching period. They should do well to resolve all of this so that the process will continue smoothly.
Honourable Member of Parliament for Sawase, we're grateful that you joined us today, and we'll certainly be following up on this ununiformed men thing that he says, and I'm hoping that as Member of Parliament you also delve a bit deeper so we can understand these ununiformed men that you talk about, that you have seen in your constituency. He also talks about logistics. That's been a problem there. We're hoping to get the Electoral Commission today, this afternoon, on all of that. We'll do that tomorrow. We're told that we can do that tomorrow. We're seeing what is happening at the registration centers. The Ghana Medical Association is warning that it will hold the Electoral Commission responsible for any surge in coronavirus cases. We'll be hearing from the Ghana Medical Association, but we'll also talk to an epidemiologist on the back of this. How can we manage this? Can we even manage this? If so, how? Those are some of the questions that I'll be exploring with you together with this epidemiologist when he joins me right after this break. But let me quickly take some of your messages before we go on that particular break. I start from some of you who are commenting about what's happening or what happened to the church worker yesterday. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's just start with the registration. It says Ghanaians are refusing to obey simple instructions. At the end, they will blame the government for spiking figures of COVID-19. We are our own enemies. You don't add your name, but thank you for sending that. Hello, Gifty. This one says, are we really sure the Electoral Commission will be able to register the required number of eligible voters in this slow pace? Bright said that message from Tefle. Right, thank you for your message as well. So it says, good afternoon, Gifty. Will the aged people like the old man I saw at Ablekuma West on TV be dragged to the registration center to register? Don't kill the old people because of someone's interest, because she's vulnerable to the coronavirus outbreak due to her age. Mwesan Obed Azabzugu in the northern region. Let me take this final two. So it says, did I hear the Electoral Commission talk about the enthusiasm of Ghanaians to register? I am a Ghanaian and I'm not in any way enthused to go out and register for this new voter ID card. And I know a lot of my friends who told me they won't waste their time and energy to go join long queues for hours just for a voter's register. He says that, so what is the EC? What the EC is saying is a big fallacy. That is from Divine in Labadi. I take a break, I'll be right back. Well, that was a scuffle that happened earlier today at the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency. The executives of the NDC are accusing the MP for the area of busing people from other constituencies, like what's happening in the Ashanti region, to register in this ongoing exercise. Constituency Chairman Bismarck Abobi Aite claims Lydia Al-Hassan is bringing people from other constituencies such as Ayawaso East and North, La Dadekotopon, Kwabenya, and Somanya, among other areas. But addressing a news conference here in Accra today, he called on the EC to intervene on this matter.
About Lydia Al-Hassan. What Lydia Al-Hassan is doing, which is inimical to the process, is that she is importing people from other constituencies. Ayawaso North, Ayawaso East, Ladadekotopon, Kwabenya, all the adjoining constituencies of Ayawaso West Wuogon. Above all, she's bringing people from Ada, she's bringing people from Somanya, she's bringing people from Atiavi, she's bringing people from Eastern region as far as Isawem. This morning we had a hint that there was 2 buses coming from Isawem, being NPP people they are bringing to come and register. So we went and we intercepted the car. What we are saying is that it is wrong. We are in an elite community. Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency is the most elite community in Ghana. So allow the people, the grown-ups there, people who have businesses there, to determine who should be their MP. But if you go and import the youth from other constituencies to come and elect MP for us, then you are not being fair. It's an insult to the integrity and the willpower of the people residing in this constituency. People like Despite, they are here. We have many university lecturers are here. We have prominent people, middle class, upper class people. Why don't you allow them to go and vote and elect who should lead them? At the end of the day, when development comes, the people who are coming from far and near will Lady Al-Hassan bring the development to your constituency. Please stay in your constituency and elect your own MP and make sure that the MP will go to parliament and bring goodies to your constituency. What you are doing is illegal, it's wrong, it doesn't fall within the remits of CI 126. So media, we are entreating all of them, those near and far, they should stop coming. When you come, we will challenge you and we will make sure that you don't get your card. Your name will be removed from the register, meaning that you have wasted your time. Above all, COVID-19. Why do you bust people? They were not even respecting social distancing. Then you bust people up and you bring them to come and register for you without respecting the social protocol that the government is preaching.
We're working hard to get Madam Lydia Al-Hassan to respond to some of these allegations. As and when we do, we'll let you know. In the meantime, research fellow at the Institute of Democratic Governance, IDEC, Kwesi Jonah, says although this is a normal occurrence in Ghanaian politics, it is a worrying trend. He spoke on PM Express on the JoyNews today, last night, with my colleague Evan Spencer.
There are 5 clusters, 5 police stations in the cluster, and every police station will be in this cluster will be attended to. Somehow, people have misunderstood that they may not come to my police station. So I want to rush very early to go and register. That is a different matter. So subsequently, when the team moves to other stations, there may not even be enough people to register because many of them would have gone to the first and the second station to register. That is a completely different problem. This one is due to lack of communication. But the other one, busing people across constituency boundaries to register, is a completely different problem. What happens is that if a party feels that in a nearby constituency, I have too many votes, I can definitely win the seat. I don't need all the numbers. But in the next constituency, I have nearly not enough voters to be able to capture that seat. In this case, Asawase. So they move some of the surplus voters across constituency boundaries. It's not from one police station to the other. So what Honorable Muntaka is complaining about is moving people from nearby constituencies to Asawase constituency to register in order to increase the NPP's power. What serious allegation he has made is that the EC is conniving by locating the registration centers across the borders of the constituencies so that people can very easily sneak from one constituency. These are, the first one, it has always been there, passing people across constituencies to go and inflate the votes in another candidate, another constituency. But everybody, but people don't understand it that way.
Dr. Jonah there speaking yesterday with Evans Mensah on PM Express. Well, the Ghana Medical Association is worried about community spread of coronavirus, especially as many applicants for voter ID cards disregard social distancing and wearing of face masks. The letter, they write a letter in which they address the Electoral Commission, and the GMA said the EC chairperson and other members of the commission should be ultimately held responsible and accountable by the state for any wanton disregard or for non-enforcement of COVID-19 preventive measures at any voter registration center. So that's the statement right there for you. It says that the Ghana Medical Association is followed keen interest at the events that are ongoing, and these are the things that they wish to state: that the COVID-19 is real and the country is currently experiencing significant community spread, which is why they're worried. Also, that the Electoral Commission has an obligation to ensure that all appropriate COVID-19 preventive etiquette, such as social distancing, wearing of masks, use of alcohol-based sanitizers, as well as the washing of hands with soap and running water, are observed at all times during the exercise. Other excerpt says that the EC should, that's the third one, the EC should ensure that all persons at the various centers adhere strictly to all COVID-19 safety preventive protocols. And fourth, that the security agencies, especially the Ghana Police, should enforce all COVID-19 preventive protocols at the various centers without fear or favor. And five, that there should be a swift prosecution of all persons, including the EC staff and officials, commissioners, voters, voter ID card applicant, observers, and political party agents who may be responsible for any breaches of any COVID-19 preventive protocol. And the sixth point they make is that the EC should ensure that all needed personal protective equipment are available for use at all times at the voter registration centers. It ends by indicating under point 7 that the EC chairperson and other members of the commission should be ultimately held responsible and accountable by the state for any wanton disregard for or non-enforcement of COVID-19 preventive measures at any voter registration center. And it goes on and on and on with all these details. And it says, remember, COVID-19 is real. Letters are there. It's signed by Dr. Justice Jansen, General Secretary, and Dr. Frank Ankobia, who is the president. But then the General Secretary of the association, Dr. Titus Bayo, has also been speaking to us. He tells Roland Walker that if COVID-19 cases in the country increase, of course, the point they make should apply, that the EC should be held responsible.
Indeed, we have concerns. For us as a medical body, our major concern is that, yes, this is a legitimate exercise as has been approved by the Supreme Court of Ghana. However, it also serves as a ground on which there could be increased community spread. And therefore, we decided to caution the EC. I should state emphatically that this was a private letter we sent to the EC way back as Friday, prior to the start of the event today. And we had hoped that the EC will take it to this and implement same so that we will all be safe. Because what we are seeing in the hospitals suggests that we are not out of the woods at all. And so EC and anybody who organizes public activities like this must adhere to the laws that we have put in place.
Since you're medical people, you ultimately have fears that the cases could spike. And what we saw on the ground, and based on your observations, there was wanton disregard, as in point 7 of your statement, for these preventive protocols. What then?
Indeed, and
Please go on, Dr. Bayo.
No, I think you were saying something. Let me hear you.
So I also wanted to add, what then do we do with the current state of things as noticed in the first day?
All right. So I think the EC still has opportunity to make amends. And in our statement, we cautioned that any activity that puts the life of Ghanaians at risk and result in larger outbreaks of this condition, endangering the lives of Ghanaians, the EC should be held liable. And the EC here will mean the commissioner and all her commissioners and other officials there must be held personally responsible for any breaches in the EI that has been passed that result in danger to lives of Ghanaians. And for what we are seeing, indeed, we can see, and we have done some of our own monitoring, and a lot of people are not respecting the law. What is the use of passing a law and people not obeying it? And at official state events or national events, people not obeying this law, which by medical science, if not obeyed, really puts all of us at risk. So we think the EC must be up and doing, the law enforcement agencies must be up and doing, but the ultimate responsibility is on the Electoral Commission because they are the convener of this activity or this exercise. And therefore, all other agencies are only assisting them. So they must come clean with the implementation of the executive instrument with regards to our public prevention.
Dr. Bayo there. Well, we'll bring you more on our coronavirus case count. So far, more than 100 people have died, as you may well be aware of, 112. We'll bring you the details. But the Convention People's Party is condemning the supposed ethnocentric comment made by the Member of Parliament for Adansia Sokwa, Katie Hammond, against people of the Volta Regional Chairman of the CPP, Thomas. And to me, believes that such comments have the tendency to lead to undesirable consequences, considering recent secessionist activities in that part of the country. He's been speaking at a press conference from where Fred Kwame Asare reports.
The Honorable K.T. Hammond has said on TV that he will not apologize and he will not withdraw this statement. Well, we are calling on him. We are calling on those who appointed him, who know the history of this country very well, and who appreciate the need for this country to remain united and strong. We hope that those people, particularly those who appointed him, will advise him to withdraw his statement because they are false, and also because it can lead to undesirable consequences. The reason is that we are aware of the secessionist tendencies that are around, the secessionist activities that are already present in this country. So for him to now stand up and say, some people don't belong to this country, what is he expecting? What is he aiming at? Your guess is as good as mine. So people of good intentions, people of good minds, especially in his party and in the government, we believe they know, they are aware that what their member has said is wrong. So we think they will be in a position to advise him to do the right thing. And the right thing is withdraw the statement and apologize.
And that's the latest on that. Those comments which have to do with registration and the presence of military persons on the ground there. We want to bring you the case count, Ghana's case count at the moment, but some of your messages that have come in quickly. Good afternoon. This one says, if it is true that COVID-19 is real, why is it necessary for us Ghanaians to go for the new voters registration? Your health is your responsibility. This message says, well, he says, okay, this is the same one that I read. So it says, why can't registrants be bussed to another constituency to further to register? And what happens to their constituencies? In fact, if anybody comes out to say there is such activity in Ayawaso West Bogon, as you said, it is a lie. This is my first time of registering in Ghanaian voting system, and I was at a few places just to have a look, and I feel it was different from what is being said. Let's take a look at the case count. 17,741, that's our accumulated case, but 13,325 people have recovered. If you take all of that out, we have active cases right now, 4,361, which means that 4,361 people are actively living with the disease, and 390 new cases have been recorded, but the number of people who have died remains 112. Now, indecent exposure and nudity are among the charges leveled against actress Rosamond Brown, known in public circles as Akuapem Polo. The actress has since apologized for the picture and posting it on social media as part of the boy's 7th birthday. But the police has invited her for what they say is part of their investigations. Ms. Brown released a video yesterday explaining her actions.
In the post for wishing my son today a happy birthday in the morning, I want to clear the air. And we all know that I'm an artist, and anything I post on my page is a message out there. As an artist, whatever I post is an artistic impression. Yes, I always try to send a message out there as a mother. So whatever I posted today was an artistic impression. But I'm not trying to portray porn on my page. I can't do porn with my son. I even bath always with my son. He's my son. I bath him. We bath in the bathhouse always. So, but what I want to say is, I was trying to send a message to kids and children, even grown-up people who don't regard their parents, especially their mothers. Some people will see their parents out there mad, naked, and because they are naked, they'll run away and they won't take care of their parents, they won't clothe them. So what I was saying is, no matter how naked full you see your parent, don't run away from them. Get close to them and clothe them. That was what I was trying to say. Nakedness doesn't mean the person is topless or whatever. Someone can expose someone and that means the person is naked. So that was what I was trying to send out there. Because I'm an artist. So it was an artistic impression I was posting out there. But not porn. But all the same, I want to say that I'm so sorry if I hate or anyone got hate with my post this morning. And also want you to know that it wasn't bad intention. It was just trying to send a message out there. That's all.
Sending a message out there gone wrong. Well, she earlier defended her actions. She says she was not completely naked and that her son did not see her naked sex organs. She says that the picture was taken in her own house. Anyway, was speaking to an Accra-based FM. Ms. Brown also said that the attention should be directed at the, quote, knowledgeable caption that she put there rather than the photo, because she thinks that people will only appreciate the photo if they understood her intent. She, after those criticisms, deleted the photos and posted another with the two of them fully clothed in matching fabric. But we also know that people have taken the pictures and put virtual clothes on them, by the way. Let's have a conversation on this. Some civil society organizations, including Child Rights Initiative, Bright Appear, have also been speaking to us. They've raised concern about this development and they've asked the police to step in. So let me quickly have a conversation, like I said, with two people who are child rights advocates. I have Awo Edu Amenya. I hope that I got the name right there. He's
crucified it.
I have, I'm sorry, help me out.
Awo Aidan Amenya.
Awo Aidan Amenya. And then she's Executive Director of Child Online Africa. And I also have the Director of Child Protection and Advocacy at World Vision Ghana, Gregory Derry. Mr. Derry, thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you. Abusing all of us indirectly. So abusing children in addition is what she's been taking on for now. So as much as possible, I think the police should do their work, but then I want to hope that they will do it with consideration. Because from where I sit observing, it looks like she has an issue. And that is psychological and it has to be tackled. And I'm sure having lived with, the child having lived with her for a period of time would have also had his own pound of issues. So again, the child must also be taken through some recovery and reintegration process. So I feel that the right step is for the police to step in and then we set apart the issues and tackle them as they unfold.
Okay. Let me bring you in, Mr. Derry. We were actually already built to have a conversation with you on parenting. And so this is a very interesting coincidence, Mr. Derry. So let me take your thoughts on it. This, she says, is a mother-child relationship. She says she's been taking showers with the child. I mean, this is very normal. Isn't that what it is?
Good afternoon to your cherished viewers. Yes, it is a mother-child relationship, but this mother and child live in a country that is governed by the rule of law. We have legal processes and regulations that guide our conduct as civilized people. So in that respect, our laws provide, when you pick the Children's Act, it is very clear what it is. You pick our Criminal Code or Criminal Offences Act, it is very clear what it is. You pick the Electronic Transaction Act, it is very clear what it means when you are publishing such kind of documentaries about your child, you know. So it goes beyond just assuming that you have the right to do anything that you like at any time. But obviously, as parents, every parent wants the best of his or her child. So the question we need to ask is, what we are doing with our children today, will we be happy for our children to see same in the next 7 to 10 years? Will this child be happy to see those pictures? Okay, we are forgetting that we live in a society, we live in an environment where people are relating. If you study child development, it tells you that a child between 7 and 10 years is at the peak of mental development. These children are building relationship, complex relationships, they are building their academic abilities, you know, there is peer pressure and other things. So the environment in which they live alone should tell you that please be careful what you are putting out there. The child goes to school or goes to church or meets her colleagues and they begin to tease her. They begin to ridicule her. This is how your mother is. This is how your family is. It begins to affect the whole psyche of that child. How the child is able to relate and develop academically or even develop in the society. So it is beyond just an issue of being a mother and bathing with the child. Yes, we know women in the communities bath with their children, but they do that with the consciousness of age appropriateness. This is a 7-year-old child who is beginning to develop and know himself as a boy or as a girl, and beginning to identify some feelings and some unique features around themselves. How do you do that? Okay, so it is something that should be condemned in no uncertain terms. And I am very happy that the the police are moving swiftly on this. I believe there are many more of such people out there. They claim to blame it on ignorance, but ignorance is not an excuse of the law.
Okay.
You need to know, and especially saying that she's an artist, you should know better.
So,
okay, so
in the face of
as somebody who is promoting positive drinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. And I think your television the sound on the television may have to go down a little bit for me so that you can hear me through the device. So in the face of these facts that you put out there about what the law says, the Children's Act, for example, and if the police wants to go further into this, which of these laws or the Children's Act, which parts of the Children's Act do you reckon she has breached with her action?
Yeah. The Children's Act talks about the best interest of the child. Then you go to the Criminal Offences Act about child sexual abuse. Okay. Then when you go to the Electronic Transactions Act, it also talks about child sexual abuse, publication of such materials. And these acts are punishable by a minimum of 7 years and a maximum of 27 years. They are not just mere misdemeanors. They are not small cases that people should be joking with.
Interesting. So child sexual abuse and then publication of such material, you're looking at 7 to 27 years.
Yes.
Okay. Let me bring in Awo into this part of the conversation. Now, we're wrapping up shortly, but I want to find out, you talk about psychological help for her and her child. But then from your search and from your work in your area, how prevalent will you say this issue is? Are parents gradually becoming complicit in not just cyber abuse of children, but also perhaps unconsciously exposing their children to harm or putting them in harm's way?
Gifty, the truth of the matter is that most children are being put in harm's way for money, which is deliberate, and very few would say that they are ignorant about things, because if you hear the narration from a lot of parents, they do say that, oh, children of today, they seem to know blah, 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 blah. So if you're making such pronouncements, obviously you know the trend of things. But the unfortunate thing is that it doesn't look like our laws are biting them enough. So as from the work we do, the first thing I had to do was to take the interest of the child into consideration. So I had to now report that situation to Facebook, because Facebook owns Instagram and Facebook platforms. So they have strict laws against it. But it's rather unfortunate the community standard didn't pick her. So we have had to now report it through the trusted channel platform. So we've made a case. We are waiting and looking forward to having action taken on that. But on a larger scale, I think the irresponsibility of parents is becoming some way out of order because of the situation we found ourselves now. WhatsApp platform is for 16 years old and above. Facebook is for 13 years old and above. Instagram is for 13 years old and above. But children who are using WhatsApp now for their e-learning or remote learning situations are exposed to WhatsApp. So all manner of content are being churned out there, and they are being exposed inadvertently. So I think that we need to take up the responsibility. I don't allow my boys to touch my phone because it is mine, and there could be content on it which will not be age appropriate. I don't want to believe that parents are being conscious and buying new handsets and giving to these children. WhatsApp knew very well that the content that is transmitted on the platform will not be healthy for children. So they set the age limit. But it looks like we are flouting all of it out of laziness, because somebody doesn't want the teacher to send an assignment when she is on a call or she is having a conversation. So laziness, you place the phone with the child to access the device, which is wrong. So I think we need to take up our parenting seriously. We also need to have our laws bite, because this lady in question, if she should be taking on, she has to be taking on beyond the situation. If you visit her Instagram page, you can see what is there. It is just so bad. And she and a couple of other socialites, it looks like there's something. That is why I'm looking at it from the psychological side, because the clicks and the likes have gotten into her head. So if she posts something and she doesn't get likes, it looks like she's not okay. So she has to do it in such a way that the ignorant followers she has would give her the kind of likes that she wants just for her to be satisfied. So that is something psychologically wrong with her. That has to be looked at. And then the child has to also be attended to.
Okay. Let me come to you, Mr. Derry. Like I said, we're wrapping up this, so if we can get that briefly. World Vision has been carrying out some monitoring during this COVID period. You stress on the need for good parenting. What did you find in that your monitoring?
Yeah, thank you very much. Our monitoring within this period have shown high levels of reporting of violence against children cases. For the 3-month period from March to now, in our operational areas, we have recorded 176 teenage pregnancies. We have recorded over 50 child trafficking and child labor-related issues, 18 cases of child marriage, similarly 18 cases of rape and defilement, and several other cases of neglect that are happening. So these are things that are happening within the family and the community, and we think that we need to step up the work we are doing with communities on, particularly with regards to positive parenting. How do we ensure that parents get to value and cherish their children and bring them up within an environment that is very safe, that is protects children, that children are loved and cared for, and children experience the love of God at the same time. So we've been doing a lot of work around this. You know, when children are out of school, like I always put it, there's a lot of tension because parents now have to spend more time with their children at home. And sometimes some people go out of the way to discipline, punish, or do certain things, not out of their will, just because they don't know. So we are stepping in and working with our partners and communities to ensure that parents should tread cautiously, that children, based on their level of development, behave in a certain way, and they need to understand the behavior. You need to reinforce good behaviors, and where there are negative behaviors, you work with the child in order to resolve those issues. It is not always about the issue of beating or severe punishment that will correct the child. Parents should desist from that because we have realized that it has not worked. Beating, caning, and all those kind of things that parents do, putting children's hands in soup and iron, have not worked. So we are promoting positive parenting, where parents who value their children will begin to guide their children in a way that will enable them learn academically, learn the values of society, grow up to become meaningful citizens, so that we get rid of these issues of crime, because that is the consequence. When you over-punish children, you harden them, you make them criminals in future, and they'll come back against you. So those are some of the things we are doing to address a lot of the issues that are happening. Okay. Of course, some of them are traditional, and you know, you have to take social and behavioral change interventions to be able to intervene in cultures or customs that have been there for so many hundreds of years. So we are working around all that, working with all the structures across, from the traditional to the state agencies, to see how some of these issues will be resolved. Children deserve better, and they deserve a safe country to live in. Like
by all means, by all means. Well, let me end with you. The role of parents in cyber protection. You said that you don't allow your child to touch your phone. That could be a little blanket, if you wouldn't you say? No, because there will be the need for them to touch it.
No. When I say that, it doesn't mean that they don't touch it at all. But then, in terms of usage, so they have their own platform that they use. Yes. Okay. Maybe I can afford, but for somebody who cannot afford it, it's important you safeguard. Very well. So safeguarding requires that you supervise the way they use it and all of that. But then maybe before you lock me out, let me just put it out. Should anybody come across inappropriate content of a child online, the link can be sent. I just got, I saw that Facebook has dealt with the situation. And should anyone see it again, kindly send the link to email@childonlineafrica.org and we'll escalate it for action to be taken.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining today's conversation. I hope that some parents have taken cues out of this. I really sincerely hope that this works, and I hope that if there is any help that this boy needs, he gets it. And if there's any action the law should take, it does. We were able to speak to the inspector investigating this matter. We didn't get him, but he did speak to us this afternoon, and he told us that indecent exposure and nudity are among the charges being leveled against her. We'll follow it and get more on that subsequently. I've been talking to Awo Aidan Amenya. He's the Executive Director of Child Online Africa, and I also had the Director of Child Protection and Advocacy at World Vision Ghana, Gregory Derry, helping me to do this conversation. This week in our crossover to Germany, the country takes over the rotating presidency of the EU and the rotating presidency of the United Nations Security Council. Germany is expected in this position to lead EU efforts to recover from the coronavirus crisis and also lead the EU's new relationship with Brexit Britain. But what do all these mean and what are the implications? Political correspondent Thomas Sparrow joins me with more from Berlin. Thomas, it's good to have you. It's been a while. Now, please tell us, give us the update on the coronavirus cases in Germany now, following the renewal of lockdown in the western parts of the country.
It has been a while, Gifty, but it's always a pleasure to be back with you and your team to talk about the situation here in Germany, the general situation also in Europe. If you specifically look at the numbers here in Germany, the coronavirus numbers, you will see that Germany is closing in on 200,000 confirmed cases of coronavirus. But that is only one aspect of it all, because if you look, for example, at how many people have recovered, then you will see that a vast majority of those people have now recovered. So you only have a very small portion of active cases here in the country. This has led authorities in the past few weeks, in the past few months, to gradually open the country. And as you mentioned correctly in your question, there have been specific cases, specific outbreaks, like the one that you discussed, I think, last week or a few weeks ago in the meat processing plant in the western part of the country, that made authorities make the decision that a regional or a local lockdown had to be implemented. Again, the goal behind all of these measures is to try and avoid general lockdowns, to try and make sure that if there is an outbreak in a specific place, in a specific region or in a specific sector, that those outbreaks can be managed locally, or if it gets even bigger, then regionally, but under no circumstance nationally. So that's a general situation here in Germany. Now, that specific case in the western part of the country is one that has been bothering authorities, one that has been worrying authorities, and that's why they have been trying to deal with this in a local or regional way by isolating, by imposing that lockdown that they did a few weeks ago on the specific areas that are affected. It still remains an important issue here. It still remains a controversial issue, because we're not only talking about coronavirus numbers, we're talking about the very difficult situation in the meat processing industry, where many of the people working there come from Eastern Europe, where they come under subcontracts, where they have to live in very difficult conditions. So you'll certainly hear more from Germany and from changes in the meat industry in the next few weeks and months.
We look forward to that. But let's now take a focus to the EU presidency and the UN Security Council. Fill us in on what's about to happen.
So it's rotating. So obviously every 6 months at the EU, one country takes over the EU Council, and as such it has to lead some of the efforts that the EU is carrying, or is at least dealing with in that specific time. It's important now because obviously this time is very challenging, not only for Europe but also for the rest of the world. Angela Merkel, the German Chancellor, for example, said that the coronavirus was the biggest challenge that the EU has faced in its history. And one of the key elements of that recovery will be the economic recovery from this crisis. So it's very important that the EU's biggest economy takes the helm of the EU when it comes to trying to solve this particular case, this recovery on an economic perspective in the EU. There is a proposal on the table from Germany and France, a massive proposal for the EU to recover economically. This is also something that's being supported by the EU Commission, and as such, that's something that German Chancellor, when she's leading these efforts, will have to also try and make sure that it's implemented in one way or another. There is some resistance from other countries. So, for example, some of the countries that are described as frugal countries, the Netherlands, Austria, Sweden, those are three, for example, countries that are described as frugal countries. They have opposed the idea of sharing debt at a European level. They want loans to be issued instead. So it will be a very difficult challenge for Angela Merkel to try and convince the other countries that it is necessary to have this EU recovery plan based, at least in part, on sharing debt at an EU level. This is not the only element, by the way. We have Brexit as well. We've discussed Brexit, Gifty, various times here in this program, and it's now sort of a key moment to try and see what the future relationship will be like between the EU and the UK. It's stumbled, it's been difficult, it's been tricky, and it's been tricky also in the last few weeks when you have the coronavirus overwhelming, or at least not allowing all these issues to be discussed appropriately. In the next few months, it'll be absolutely essential to decide what the future relationship will be from a political perspective, but more importantly also from an economic perspective, from a trade perspective. So this also falls under the German EU rotating presidency.
And speaking of the presidency, specifically what is expected, you've given us the background of, what to look out for, what people are looking out for. But when it comes to Germany, at the helm of affairs, how is it expected specifically to respond to this pandemic in the face of all the background that you've given us?
So what happens when a country leads the EU Council? It then leads some of the, or at least chairs some of the meetings that are being discussed on particular issues. And that is something that will be very important in this particular case, because when we're talking about such challenges, very big challenges in an EU perspective, then these are also elements that have to be coordinated, because many decisions at the EU level are made by all 27 countries. In other words, all 27 countries have to be on board for a particular decision to be implemented. And this is why it's so necessary to have all those long discussions where all the different interests of the 27 countries are put into one sort of proposal, which is then approved and which is then implemented. Angela Merkel is well known for her sort of backroom negotiations, where she spends hours and hours talking to different EU leaders to try and get a compromise. That's something that she's well known for at a European level, and that will certainly come in handy in the next few months when it comes to deciding on that EU recovery package. It's a very big package, one that will be specifically implemented to try and help some of the countries hardest hit by the pandemic, some of the sectors hardest hit by the pandemic, and as such try and make sure that Europe can recover economically from this very difficult situation.
And what are the implications? I mean, getting it wrong, getting it right, the interventions that you'll put in, all of these come with implications. And knowing that Angela Merkel herself has been pro-Afrocentric, if you ask me, what sort of implications are we looking at here in the face of all these facts?
So there's obviously a political implication here. Germany has a lot of pressure now as the EU's biggest economy, as one of Europe's most important countries, to try and deliver. So it's not only about words and good projects, it's about delivering that, specifically when you have high unemployment, when you have a recession, when you have economic troubles, when you have a pandemic. So basically it is about delivering. There is a sort of idea that if the EU's biggest economy can't deliver, then who could actually deliver? Who could actually lead the EU to try and resolve these very, very big issues? They've been described even as existential issues for the EU. So on the one hand, there's a political implication there, but obviously when you look at Angela Merkel herself, it's also about her legacy. This is seen as Angela Merkel's last chance before she leaves office in 2021, so next year, to try and cement her legacy at a European level. Angela Merkel has been through many crises at the European level in her 15 years in office. Just for example, the financial crisis, the migration crisis, and now the coronavirus crisis. Her legacy is certainly ambivalent, so there are those who criticize that legacy, who view it rather negatively. There are those who say that she, as one of the most important politicians, if not the most important politician in Europe, has reshaped Europe in a very specific way. So there critics, there are those who praise her as well, but this is certainly a chance for her to cement that legacy. In other words, what she actually achieves in the next few months will certainly be key to try and understand how that legacy is viewed once Angela Merkel leaves office next year here in Germany.
On that note, we call it a day. There is more news at myjoyonline.com if you do log on. Of course, I want you to log on. Let's do this again tomorrow.